Let's say China.
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 China. China.
China. You go over to China. 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 You take China.
China.
China. I love them. China. 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 I have to have my China. China. China because China. 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 China.
China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China now. China. China. You know, China.
I know China very well. China, 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 China.
China. China. China.
Northwest Wisconsin, where I'm from.
It's China to me. China.
But no, Trump's mugshot was pretty hilarious.
I mean,
It was pretty badass looking too. I'll give him that.
would you say? I don't know.
I don't know. It
A
was
lot of people are roasting him because he claims to be 6'3", 215 when he's clearly 6'3", like 265. But, you know, everybody lies on their license, right? You know? Like,
216 is still pretty large.
But no. Have you seen him? There's a side-by-side with him and Lamar Jackson. They're like, both these guys are 6'3", 215.
He's also like an 80-year-old man, so I mean, there's that as well.
No, I'm not roasting him for being big. I'm roasting him for lying.
I mean, we should just be used to that by now, right?
I mean, that's kind of what got him into this point. He lied about winning the election and then tried to just make it true with the force of his fucking presidential powers.
He's like, you guys should like take down the government. You know what I mean?
He's like, look, I won. I went to bed and I was winning and I woke up and I lost. This can't be true. It's impossible. It's fraud. And then millions of people were like, yes, that sounds right. And that's why our country is going to burn.
So you would say he's a modern day cult leader.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He's definitely got his fangs deep in some people, which is just so wild to me because it's funny because like he's a funny guy. Like there's a reason he was on the what is it? Not the Mentalist, the
Shark Pit or whatever that.
His game show.
Shark Tank.
No, it's not. He wasn't on Shark Tank. Shark Tank has the other billionaires. That has like Mark Cuban. No, he had the Donald Trump's reality show. Like he's
whatever.
an entertaining guy. He has a bit of a wit. But, like, somehow that is, like, wormed into some people's brains just because he's, like, this casual, off-the-cuff. Like, the one thing I'll give Donald fucking Trump is he does not feel like a politician.
No, he doesn't.
He does kind of feel like he's keeping it real with you in his own fucked up way.
Right.
But, like, wow. When we're keeping it real about, like, the election of this nation, boy's got indictments in 4 states.
And possible collusion with Russia.
And then, but all his stands are just like, look, you know, eyes closed, ears closed, mouth open, just like, they don't want to hear it. You can't handle it.
Well, welcome to the Perfect Politics Podcast.
You can't handle the truth. You want the truth? I had those voting machines rigged.
You guys didn't know we were switching it up today.
This is really just my platform to shit on the nation. Actually, this is a platform for me to talk about another Robert Pattinson movie called Good Time.
Good times.
It's aptly named Good Time because it's one of the worst times of your life when you watch it. It's stressful. It's anxiety-inducing. It's by the Safdie brothers, who you might also know from the movie Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler. That is the movie that directly followed this.
They're like, let's just make a movie that spikes everyone's anxiety.
Yeah.
Let's make that twice.
Hold on.
Thing.
Run it back. That was a good one. I like the part where I almost threw up just from pure anxiety. That was great.
This is cinema.
I bet Martin Scorsese, who is an executive producer on this movie, actually watched this and was like, that's cinema for real.
Yeah, yeah. He was like, this isn't the Avengers. Avengers doesn't make me want to throw up.
This reminds me of Taxi Driver.
Actually, the Avengers makes me want to throw up in other ways.
I do think, I don't even know what to say about that statement. I do think this movie has a lot to owe to Taxi Driver, actually a Martin Scorsese movie, After Hours, which is about a man who goes on a horny escapade across New York. He's not as bad as Connie in this movie, but he just can't figure out how to get home. It's a one night in New York movie. There's a few other movies that are really just like kind of like one bad night movies.
Yeah, or movies about people who just can't get their shit together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Uncut Gems. Like, yeah.
Except, in Uncut Gems, the driving force is Adam Sandler's addiction to gambling.
Yeah.
In this, it's just Connie being kind of a psychopath and fuck up.
Yeah. And constantly mooching off of others and fucking being a shithead and kissing teenagers.
Yeah. Yes. Great sell job. Everybody watch this movie. I will say, the like we said about The Lighthouse, this is a movie that I think I like because it's an experience. It's like a visceral experience, which is a corny thing to say, but it does, like, it's one of those movies. It's like, it's doing something to my body. It's making me anxious. My heart rate is a little aflutter.
Yeah.
I'm like, gripping the side of the couch as I watch this because everything's just, things keep cascading. It's just like a cascading sequence of fuck ups that just ends up, exactly where
fuck up.
exactly where you deserve to be, kind of.
Which is a line in the movie.
Yeah, 100%. So, Kaylin, I'd watched this movie a couple times. I actually watched it again recently, which made me be like, why don't we do a Robert Pattinson trilogy? And then I made you watch it. You'd seen Uncut Gems, but I don't think you'd seen Good Time before this.
I actually watched this morning.
What'd you think?
And I thought it was really good. Didn't love it, but I thought it was great, and I thought Robert Pattinson killed it. Again, just that anxiety-inducing where it's like, Jesus Christ, can these guys just be normal? Like, yeah.
Verbal meme, why can't you just be normal? And it's Robert Pattinson with blonde dyed hair, just
tweaked out on LSD Sprite. Yeah, it's just like, like one of those visceral things, like you were saying, where it's just like, Jesus, like this really has my blood pumping. And it's really not that like insane
or
either.
insane.
No,
No,
it's just a guy like he's on the run, but it's not like he really did anything that bad. I mean, he robbed a bank, but he didn't kill anybody. He's, his brother's in prison or locked up because of it. Does his brother have autism or?
I mean, it's not specified what, but he's definitely he's like special needs. He's definitely, I would say he's probably on the spectrum based on what he shows.
Right. And he's trying to do right by him, but I don't even think really, I mean, everything he does is kind of in service of himself. And so from that aspect, it's like he's kind of a shitty person. I don't really know if I'm on board with this character. But whenever you have to question that about a protagonist, I think you're doing the right thing.
I think it's purposeful. You're not supposed to be rooting for Connie. It's kind of the same thing at Uncut Gems, because Uncut Gems, I've only seen the one time. I want to go back and watch it now. But when you get to the Uncut Gems, there's a big finale, and you're like, it's kind of hinting towards there's going to be a happy ending, and you're like, this guy does not deserve it. He shouldn't get a happy ending. Mm. And without spoiling it, it does not like give the full happy ending it doesn't give you the happy ending that it's kind of setting up. Right. This movie kind of never teases you with a happy ending. I think the whole time it knows, like, this is not the actual heart of the movie. This is not the person you should care about the movie. My grand theory of this movie is the person you care about this movie is the brother. Mm-hmm. It's Nick. It's not Connie. And Nick is actually like the heart of the movie, and he bookends this movie really beautifully. And he's the driving force of the whole movie. And I found it like oddly touching in a way, which is strange in a movie that is 90% just anxiety inducing, like hair inducing, just like you're kind of tearing your hair out. Like, why don't you just go home? Like, stop fucking up this night all night. You know, like, can you stop burying yourself further? Is kind of the whole energy of the movie. Yeah. So with that kind of intro, I want to read some of our great Letterboxd reviews for Good Time, Robert Pattinson movie. 5 stars. Imagine your worst panic attack, times it by 100.
Yeah, it's pretty spot on.
Why are you running, Vine.mp4?
Why are you running? Why are you running?
3.5 stars. Mostly what I got out of this was an intimate familiarity with every single pore on Robert Pattinson's face.
Yeah.
3 stars.
He looks very sweaty in this.
4 stars. Should have really been called excellent fun time. 4 stars. I'm never drinking a bottle of Sprite that I found in an abandoned amusement park again.
That's the best Sprite to drink, though, baby.
It's extra crispy when you find it on the floor. So without further ado, shall we get into the performance test?
It was the performance of a lifetime.
The performance test is where we talk about our favorite actors, scenes, characters, and moments. And the obvious standout here is Robert Pattinson. This is Robert Pattinson's vehicle. This is... I mean, he's so good in this. He's... Yep. I think the real fact that really sells this outside of the movie is they shot this movie in New York, on the streets of New York, and nobody recognized Robert Pattinson. Literally nobody approached him during filming.
That's pretty sweet.
As Robert Pattinson. Yeah. Which means he has disappeared into this character. Yeah. It's a physical transformation in the fact he lost a little weight and he's dyeing his hair and he's growing this like weird goatee.
He's not your handsome vampire in this.
He's not pale. He's not pale. What's his name from Twilight? Not today. No, this is a much grimmer and darker character. And we meet Connie interrupting his brother Nick's sort of therapy session.
Mind, can we go back to the scissors and the cooking pan? When you said you can hurt yourself, what did you mean? Do you ever think about hurting yourself? Why did you think of being hurt?
Because I touched the pan and it hurt my hand.
Oh, well, that makes perfect sense. What happened? Do you remember when it was? Do you not want to talk about this?
I was sitting there and trying to eat. And she started yelling at me and pushing me and telling me I can't eat food.
That was your grandmother was saying that?
Yeah, and then she threw stuff at me and put stuff on me.
She threw things at you?
Yeah, and then I picked up the pan and I threw it at her.
You threw it at your grandmother?
I threw it at the wall.
Oh, you weren't trying to hit your grandmother. Did you burn yourself when you threw the pan? Nick? Nick, it's good. We should talk about this. This is good stuff we're talking about. Excuse me.
You Peter?
Yes, I am. We're in the middle of... Hello?
Nick, what are you doing?
We're in the middle of something here. We're in the middle of the exam.
Hey, Nick, about the stuff and the pan and the chicken.
Wait, please.
How would you like it if I made you cry, huh? Would you like that?
No, I would not.
But get up.
They told me I had to do this stuff.
Let's go. Let's go.
No, but he has all my stuff. Goes down all my stuff.
Shut up then.
Yeah, this is my work. This is my stuff, okay?
Oh, shame on you, kind
Shame
brother.
on me?
You're not helping.
Shame on you.
Shame on you. Janice.
So I guess this role was written specifically for Pattinson by the Safdie brothers because Pattinson saw a poster for one of their earlier movies. I haven't seen any of their earlier movies. He just liked it so much, he sent them an email, and that he was like, I want to work with you guys. And that set, I think it was Josh Safdie that writes it. It's Benny and Josh are the directors, and Benny is in the movie as Nick, Connie's brother. He just started writing a script based on Robert Pattinson clearing him up. And they kind of said this is kind of based on he sees his character and Robert Pattinson as the same person, in the certain ways where they're both kind of just trying to live life out of sight, undercover, ducking through, because Robert Pattinson post Twilight is this so famous man that that he just kind of wants to go, when he goes out, he wants to creep through the shadows unnoticed if he possibly can, just because it's
he truly is the Batman.
Tiring to constantly be under that kind of spotlight. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because this is the role that made Matt Reeves write the Batman with Pattinson in mind. I think it matches, because if the Batman in this Batman is vengeance, he's this kind of rotten, moody,
and he's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah.
So Connie, I mean,
antisocial shit, and instead of and he's not he's just taking his trauma out on random thugs and criminals,
right?
Random street level dudes. And that whole movie is about him realizing you're not actually making a net good. Beating up purse snatchers isn't making a big change.
No.
So,
that's interesting.
That led directly to him being Batman. I was going to move on to Benny unless do you have more to say about Pattinson?
No, he's fantastic. I think, we can all move on from he's the Twilight guy because, I mean, he's obviously so much more than that. He's just a great actor, and that needs to be recognized.
Yeah, I think I've become a Robert Pattinson stan slowly. I'm now on the lookout for Robert Pattinson movies.
I'm on board.
Benny Safdie as the brother Nick, who is like probably on the spectrum, definitely not a neurotypical adult. I think his portrayal, like this could easily be like Forrest Gump in like a weird caricature, but it feels so honest. And there's a scene at the end where he's in a room with a bunch of real like special needs, like young adults, and it doesn't feel exploitative to me. It actually was like really touching, and like it felt like he felt in place there. And I think if it was a worse actor or a different portrayal, it would feel gross. And it's not.
If this was I Am Sam or something, you know. Yeah, or Radio.
Or fucking Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another point I wanted to make about this movie. Like the dialogue and just like the circumstances they're in, they're not grand. And it feels so real. It feels really grounded. And with that setting of like New York and stuff, you really get like that these people know the streets and they've been in these neighborhoods for a long time, and like they just feel so naturally a part of it. It's kind of interesting. And they're all just kind of shitheads, and they're believable because like I don't really know how to explain it, but there's just such a realism to this that I liked.
I think of like speaking of grimy New York crime stories, I'm thinking of like Jack Nicholson in The Departed. There's no Jack Nicholson in The Departed. Nobody has like a grand like monologue where they're like being wild and be like, look at me, I'm crazy.
Look at, I have a man's severed hand and I'm waving it around.
Yeah,
like
Robert Pattinson is unhinged, but it's all in the like minutia of his performance and the like deeds and like the selection of the deeds he does and like the way the actions his character takes. He doesn't need to like act crazy to tell you how crazy I am.
Well, it's like literally like little things. Like he's in a random stranger's house and he's just going through their stuff. And he finds a thing of box dye, and he just applies it to his head and goes and watches TV on their couch shirtless. Like, it's just like we've met people like this who just have no respect for others' boundaries and are kind of doing everything at the expense of others.
I would say his character's written like a kind of like a total psychopath. The only person he seems to have any care for is his brother, and even that is sort of self-centered.
Yeah.
And other than that, people are just tools for him to get where he needs to get.
Right.
He does not seem to have much care for anyone in the world. His girlfriend, even his like grandmother, like he just doesn't seem to fucking care about any of the people that should really like tie you to being a person.
Well, he's like obviously the black sheep, and it's like going back to like we've met people like this. Like I've definitely met somebody who's just like always got some weird shit going on, and like they can't seem to get it right. You know what I mean? And it's always like you get a phone call from them and they need something, or it's just different things like
or
that.
You have conversations and you're having a conversation and they're having like a chess match where they're like going towards this end goal to get a thing. Like they're not like just talking to you being a person. They're like planning out,
but I need a ride,
gaming out this thing to this end goal,
Yeah.
And every step along the way is part of that process. And Robert Pattinson's character like does that. That's the whole night is him doing that. And it's so we start with Benny Safdie as Nick. He is in a he had some sort of like altercation at home where he like threw a pan with his grandma. We find out because he's in this sort of therapy session post like he had some sort of incident at home and he's like with the therapist. Connie shows up, busts him out, immediately takes him to do a bank robbery, which is a sus thing to do with your special needs brother, adult brother.
Right.
And the only part of this movie that makes me think he actually cares about Nick in his own fucked up way, like his brother's character in his own fucked up way, is after the bank robbery, which goes like kind of well until the dye pack explodes, is when they're taking off their masks and he goes, I couldn't have done that without you. Just you there being strong. Like he's like building him up. He's like bigging him up. Like you were such an important part of this thing. Like in his own fucked up way, he's trying to give him purpose because he feels like him being institutionalized or just living at home with mom is not giving him purpose.
Right.
And
I think, it's like the Rain Man or something, but it's like, yeah. And I think that goes back to the whole theme. We'll get into it more, but it's just like the theme of purpose and like, because there is a conversation that Connie has with what is not Randy, but
Ray?
With Ray, and where he's basically telling Ray like all these things where he's like, you're nothing, like you have no impact on society whatsoever, your life is shit, you're a drunk. But it's basically like he's saying all these things that he himself is, you know what I mean? And so it's like that contrast or whatever. And it's interesting because it seems like he kind of realizes like he is a shitty person, but again, he's like reflecting all of that onto other people. You know what I mean?
Come on, man, look at me. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I know your situation can't be worse than mine. Everybody goes through shit. I'm the last one to judge. You ever do time before? Are you kidding me? Just asking you a question. Why you gotta be such a fucking little prick all the time, man?
Look at you. Look at you. You're drunk as shit. Now you want to get real with me?
Don't fucking flatter yourself, bro. I'm not trying to get real with you. You know what? I'm fucking real. I'm trying to talk to you, all right? Go fuck yourself, man. Think you're better than me.
I am better than you.
You're an ignorant fuck, bro. No one's better than any next man, all right? You don't know me from Adam.
The second you got here, went to the booze and you got fucked up, but that's fine.
So
That's just who you are. You're a fuck up. That's it. I don't care.
Okay,
Whatever.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
give a shit.
You shouldn't give a shit. Who gives a shit? I definitely don't give a shit.
Look, losers like you are incapable of taking care of themselves. You're either leeching off mommy, or leeching off welfare, or living off the government in jail. That's you.
You don't know the first thing about me, bro.
What's to know? What's to know? You serve absolutely no function whatsoever. It's pathetic.
It's like Ray, who is so after the bank robbery, Benny gets arrested. We're going to be spoiling Good Times. I'd recommend Good Times, but it is not a good time. It's very anxiety-inducing.
Not to be confused with the Beloved Family sitcom.
Yeah. It pushes your buttons. It's kind of like a tough watch. I think it is a really good experience, like in the way that it's kind of a bad time and it stresses you out, but it's like it is a thing to experience. If what we've said thus far interests you, I'd say check it out. It's a good movie. So after the bank robbery, Nick gets arrested and he's in Rikers. So our special needs brother is in, and the rest of the movie is Connie being motivated to take him out of Rikers and to try to get the bail money to the bondsman to bust him out ASAP. Mm-hmm. He gets some from a girlfriend that he's manipulating and just using for her money, but he still needs more. And he finds out that he thinks Nick is in a hospital, and he goes to bust him out. He busts him out. This whole sequence of events ends up at some random
Jamaican lady's house.
Jamaican lady's house, who I almost guarantee you is a woman off the street, or else it's the best performance ever. But they love to cast real people alongside actors, so I bet this was just some woman off the street in New York. Very realistic portrayal of just some grandma, some Jamaican New York grandma, and her teenage daughter. They end up in their home with who he thinks is Nick, but then he wakes up and it's Ray. He's busted the wrong man out of the hospital, and that's just kind of the first of all the fuck ups that end up to the end of this night.
Yeah.
So he's tried to bust his brother, ends up with the wrong man in some strange woman's house. And that man is Ray, just some guy who got busted out of jail, got drunk, ended up at an acid house, lost some acid, jumped out of a taxi, and ended up in the hospital.
And then whose apartment were they in at the end?
That's the security guards. They took his keys and they were in his home.
Oh, shit. That guy had a nice crib.
Yeah, that's what they mentioned. They're like, how does he have such a fucking nice house?
And then also we didn't really mention the granddaughter of the Jamaican lady. She's the girl. She's easily manipulated. She's kind of a troubled teen, and she kind of just goes along with everything that Robert Pattinson's saying. And she doesn't even know this guy, and so it's just again Connie is just using people constantly, and it's almost like sociopathic behavior almost, where it's like he sees somebody that's emotionally manipulative and he takes advantage of that. So
yeah, and I just wanted to say that Ray, the man fresh out of prison, was portrayed by an actor, Buddy Duress, who was actually fresh out of prison.
Oh, really?
It's so close to reality.
Okay.
He'd gotten out a few weeks before. I don't know what he was in for. I hope it was something, non-violent and hopefully like a drug charge or something relatively.
He looks like a fuckhead, though.
Yeah, he
plays
plays like
well.
kind of a useless dipshit, but it's funny because we were talking about that rant he goes on where Connie's really talking about himself, and it's like Ray is all those things, but he's at least like a decent person that isn't constantly trying to manipulate and abuse people.
And he recognizes his flaws, too.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't deny it,
He's like, I am a drunk, I am a fuck up, but at least I'm not a fucking asshole. Is
Yeah.
kind of his whole speech. No man is better than any other man, he says.
And when you see me driving down the street in my Lambo, you're gonna have your foot so far up your ass, like.
That's a great scene. So yeah, they end up at this house. Eventually, they end up at a theme park where Ray, the man out of prison, has a large bottle of acid that they're gonna try to flip.
I also call him exposition guy.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because right when they're at White Castle, all of a sudden we get this man's whole backstory, and you're like, why the fuck?
And it's long, too. Like, it just goes on. He's like, yeah, so I just got straight out of prison, First thing I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get fucked up. Like, And he meets his other dipshit friend, and they're just, like, walking down the street.
Doesn't that feel like a story a Scorsese character would do?
Yes, absolutely.
First thing I tried to do was try to get fucked up, and I met my Albanian homie, and there's just, like, all the details along the way.
My friend, he cooks up LSD, I'm trying to get a piece of that. And as he's cooking up the LSD, I'm fucking this broad, like it's that kind of thing. Like, just ridiculous stuff.
I remember being dropped off by a bus. The jail releases me. The bus drops me off right in front of a liquor store on the corner. I mean, after doing 2 years in jail, what the fuck do you think is gonna happen, man? I'm gonna want a fucking drink. Right away, I'm getting a bottle of brandy, and I'm already practically broke with the little money that was left in my account. So I call my boy Khalif. He comes through with some more liquor and some sticks of Xanax.
My brother.
He takes some sticks, I take some sticks. And by now, we're all fucked up, and I'm just feeling so good that I don't even give a fuck. So we both walk over to his boy Trevor's house, this guy who has this hustle going where he moves acid for this guy in the Bronx to this other guy in Long Island. But what they do is they skim a couple sheets off the top, so they could have some money on the side for themselves before they make the delivery.
Yo, Belvis, how much was that? Yo, son, hook me up, son.
They get this acid, but the security guard finds them. He disposes of the security guard. The security guard is played by the man from Captain Phillips. We all know. Look at me. I am the captain
now. Yeah.
He's in here.
Is he from Minneapolis?
I think so. I want to say he was a Minneapolis
native.
Native. They fucking brutalized this security guard.
I felt bad for him.
And then douse him with acid. He said he's not going to remember shit. And then they pour just ounces of acid down his gullet while he's asleep. And he just wakes up screaming and terrified. Like, can you imagine? Like, so one of the things of the movie is Connie's just fucking over everybody in his path. He's like this bulldozer of just destruction that's just barreling down anybody who happens to be in his way. And this time it's a security guard. He beats him up, takes his uniform, plays as a security guard, frames the actual security guard as being the person that broke in, and his Ray pours all this acid on him. That will fuck up your brain eternally. Like, that much acid in your system, you might not ever recover from this.
And I can assume even if he does recover, it's like he's probably going to lose his job, and like he's going to get framed. I mean, he was framed for all this shit. It's probably going to be like, it's going to be on his ass. Like, I just felt bad for that guy. I resonated with him a lot.
He got absolutely screwed over.
And he was good at his job, too. I mean, he was on their shit. He was on their ass, man. Like,
he was like, you motherfuckers, come out! Everybody in this movie is very grounded and very realistic. It does not have the like Hollywoodisms of the writing. It's all just like people yelling at each other in the way that only New Yorkers do.
And I think I mentioned this to you about the character of Ray. He just seems like a side character from a Rockstar game, like from GTA 4 or something. Like somebody that Nico would run into on the street and do a couple missions.
He's just this kind of innocuous fuckhead that you just end up linked up with because he broke the wrong man out of prison.
But he's always yelling, and he's got a lot of great lines.
Yeah. As far as casting real people, the bondsman is the real bail bondsman that actually owns that bond shop where they shot. At first they had another guy cast, but then they're like, fuck it, and it's him and his wife. The wife is the like assistant.
I love that. I mean, just finding people off the street, and some of them are really good. Like, you know what I mean? You never know what kind of talent you can run into on the street.
Also, it's like not a stretch. Just act like an asshole bail bondsman like you do every fucking day.
Yeah, just be yourself.
Can we watch that, please?
Scorsese does that too.
Oh yeah, it's yeah, and I don't think I'll fully spoil. I guess we'll go all the way to the end. Sorry, but so they end up at the security guard's apartment. They're trying to make this acid deal, and the police collapse on him. Connie tries to escape. He ends up arrested. Ray, our just random drunk asshole, ends up trying to stupidly, like, he's also blasted because as soon as he got to his apartment, he starts drinking. Tries to climb out the window to, like, the other apartment. Like, I don't really know where that's going to get you.
You're
and
like
then,
in a 9-story apartment somewhere.
And he just falls from the 9th floor to his death.
I felt bad for him, too.
Yeah, and I really want to get all the way... Once again, he's a tragic figure. Like, he's a shithead, but he didn't deserve any of the things that... Like, literally none of this is his fault. He was in a hospital bed and got kidnapped.
Right.
Basically.
I gotta get to a fucking phone, man. I gotta warn my family. If they call that fucking stupid girl's number back and she's with the cops, then I'm fucked, bro. They might trick my mom into saying something stupid like I called her earlier. Fuck, man. Lay down.
Is what I think is really the bookend of this movie, which is Nick, our brother, who is in Rikers, and we haven't really seen since the credits came up. He's the reason we're going through all this. And at the end, he's back at the clinic, and he's talking to the same therapist, and they bring him to this little class that they're doing, which is full of, like, again, there's, like, real special needs like this. I think they're filming in a real class that they're doing, and they're doing this exercise that's just cross the room. Cross the room if you have a best friend. Cross the room if you've ever lied to somebody. Cross the room, whatever. And the song is beautiful. It's Iggy Pop, and the One O Tricks Point Never is the artist that does the soundtrack. And the final song is that and Iggy Pop, and it's called the Pure and the Damned.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a prompt. I'm gonna say, cross the room if you like something. Cross the room if you want to do something. Cross the room if you have ever done something. And if you have or agree with those prompts, you would cross the room. Now, you choose whether or not you want to cross. You don't have to. It could be your secret. You choose your truth. Okay? Okay. So let's start with something easy. Cross the room if you like candy. Okay. Mikey and Michael don't like candy. Okay. How about something harder? Cross the room if you've ever been in love. Do you think you have? Okay. Cross the room if you have ever lied.
And the chorus is like, the good always act from love, the damned always act from love. And that's, like, really, I think, putting to a point what's happening in this movie. Connie's a fucking psychopath, and he's the worst. But ultimately, the sequence of events that we saw this night is him lovingly trying to unfuck the circumstance he put his brother in. Yeah. Like, he's not a good person and is pretty irredeemable. But ultimately, I think he does love his brother in the way that brothers just love each other. And same for Nick. He's the flip side of the coin. The pure always act from love. Like, he was along for the ride. He was there to support his brother. He really loves his brother, and he thinks his brother has his best, Well,
also too, it's like I don't think Nick can ever grow and get the help that he needs without if his brother is there. So I mean, his brother being absent in prison, and I think that was made clear at the end when the doctor was like, "Your brother is where he's supposed to be. You're where you're supposed to be." And, we can move on from there. You know what I mean? So.
And when they're doing this, like, cross the room thing, Nick's kind of frozen for a while, and then he starts participating. Yeah. And I think without saying anything, it kind of portrays, like, because of the questions that are being asked, which I think are very relevant to his character. I forget the specifics, but, like, you're kind of seeing that, like, he's lacking in experience because of the people around him. All he had was this old grandmother who's, like, first-generation immigrant, and, like... Clearly, she's probably doing her best, but she doesn't really know how to deal with a kid like this.
Well, yeah, and usually the older generations, they don't know how to deal with mental illness to begin with.
And then Connie's this wild, fucked up, like, and also, without saying it, the parents are out of the picture. Yeah. You don't know what's happening with the parents, which is another, like, added layer that's never really addressed, but because they live with their grandma. That, like, there's all these experiences and chances for growth and, like, things that he never experienced because of the situation he was put in. And, like, this is the first time Nick has, like, had the right tools to like be the best person he can be.
Right.
And it's like, it's made me cry each time. And it's weird in a movie that's like, and this is all going over the credits, which I watched this on Showtime, and as soon as the credits pop up, it's like auto playing the next thing. And I was like, no, this is important.
We need
this
to watch
is like,
this part.
This is like the end of the movie. This movie like runs end to end. You need to watch the credits to like get the full thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like I think a beautiful bookend that like that's the one thing that I don't think was in Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems has a lot of this, but there's nobody as redeemable as Nick in this movie or anybody. And it never really it was a great experience, but it never made me feel the way that this made me feel at the end, where I was like, oh damn.
Yeah, Uncut Gems was kind of like, oh well, that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And with this one really is like, oh damn, it was all about Nick the whole time.
Yeah.
And Nick is finally in the place where he can grow, where he was never going to be able to do that with Connie.
Right. And they're both kind of like institutionalized as well. Even though like Nick is not outright in a facility, like he still has some semblance of freedom. But
I'm sure this is court mandated, whatever he's at.
Sure, like whatever, social work and stuff. But yeah, it's just it was really, it's a powerful ending, and yeah, it doesn't seem out of place, but it's like it does kind of tie things together, and like you really understand.
Yeah,
characters
it puts kind of like an emotional bow on it that was not really existing in the middle, where you're mostly in the presence of this like really unlikable guy just screwing up his whole night. All right, let's do It's an Art Bro, where we talk about the aspects of the filmmaking process. We're talking like sets, effects, lighting, soundtrack.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
I think number one, the soundtrack is just bumping in this. I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of like the Drive soundtrack a little bit, just like that synth wavy kind of weird, and not weird, but like synth wavy kind of stuff. It just really sets the tone, and it just has that like grimy kind of street feel to it, where it's like, I don't know.
Like the house we end up in is not like a Hollywood house. It's like a real like 2-bedroom like family home, like real like down to earth feeling. It's not some like $1 million house that like, it's not the Home Alone house, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I was literally thinking about that. Like, yeah,
it feels real, and probably was somebody's real house. Yeah, the score is really great, and I think the one thing that really aids to like the building of anxiety and tension, and it's I think a Safdie Brothers trademark, is you hardly ever get master shots, which a master shot is like anytime we go to a new location, like say there's a scene in the office, you get that wide shot where you see like you know, the meeting room, and then we cut to people's faces where we're seeing each people as they speak. In this, it's always in your face, all the time.
And it adds to that claustrophobia,
because you're not seeing what's outside of it. We're really just like zoned in on Robert Pattinson's face or the faces of whatever's going on, and it's never like wide. We never get to step wide, except for the like drone shots they do when he's driving around town.
Right.
That's the only time we ever really zoom out. Otherwise, we're just in
there
it all the time, and it kind of like gets like ignores the typical like cinematic things where you need a master to say, oh, we're at the office now, oh, we're in the house now. It's just,
well, it adds to that anxiety feeling where it's like, I mean, Robert Pattinson is constantly sweating, and it's just like it makes you uncomfortable too, because it's like you see this character, he's always like and then you're like, Jesus Christ,
why are you running?
Yeah, like, why are you running? You don't need to run right now. They could have got it, you know, like I think about the bank robbery, like if they would have just calmed down a little bit, it probably would have been a done deal, you know what I mean? But it was like, even when they had the masks off, I mean, the masks that they were wearing were like Hollywood prosthetics masks, where they're like black people or whatever, and it's like, you know, you're a white guy, you take it off, you look completely different. You could have probably got away with that without any issue. And then they crashed the car. It's like, just slow. I mean,
well, they crashed the car because
yeah, but I mean, if that goes off in a car, you're not going to speed up and start swerving all over the place. Just slow the fucking car down. Open up some windows or something. I don't know. There's ways you could have avoided that.
It's
situation.
like Connie is both kind of one step ahead and also like the dumbest man in the room at all times. Like everything's like, every decision is like just smart enough to get him to the next step, but not smart enough to unfuck the situation, you know?
Right.
Like he's like constantly treading water and trying not to drown. He's rarely like, every moment is urgent, and that's really, I think, what it comes down to. Which I'd say, even the moment which I think is the most cringeworthy, skin crawling, the underage kiss where he kisses the teenage girl.
I couldn't watch that. I was like,
I forget who I saw. Some reviewer, he's like, yeah, I watched it in the theater, and people were literally just all like, oh. Like that's the sound you make in your heart when you're watching. You're like, oh Jesus, like no. And it's self-saving, because the reason he's doing it is because the news report with his fucking face is on the TV.
He didn't want to lose his position in that house,
So he's just like, everything he's doing is, like you said, sociopathic, just like self-serving.
Well, I was watching this with my fiance, and she was like, he is a great liar. And I was like, he is. Like, he's able to just, like, on the spot, just make up something very convincing. But he comes off as a nice guy, and that's, like, typical sociopathic behavior right there. Like, yeah.
Where he knows, like, he's nice enough where he can push his foot in the door. Like, that's kind of his whole deal.
Oh, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate you. Do you mind if I use your phone real quick? Like, it's that kind of shit. We've all run into people
He's
like
a
that.
real, like, he would have been a hell of a door-to-door salesman.
Oh, hell yeah. See, if only he was, doing something positive with his life, he could have made something of himself. Like,
yeah, and other than that, it's guerrilla film, so it's got that real, like, it feels like New York, and not like cinematic New York, like New York working class people actually
Wolf
deal
of
with
Wall Street, yeah.
on the daily, not the more glammed up version.
That's the New York I like to see. Is the grimy stuff.
Yeah, real street walking, street food.
Well, when I first saw like the thumbnail for or like the poster of this or whatever, I was like, I thought this was going to be set in like England or London or something, because Robert Pattinson, he's English, correct?
Probably. I don't know.
They're all English. I
Aren't
don't
they?
know. But I thought he was English, because it kind of looked like Train Spotting, kind of.
Yeah, Train Spotting's
Ewan
way
McGregor.
different.
Yeah, that's what the vibe kind of reminded me of. So I thought it was going to be set there, but I was kind of surprised that it was set in New York.
Yeah, he's from London. You were correct. He is a secret Brit. I think that's all I have for It's an Art Bro. Shall we move along to, hey, what are you trying to say?
I'm just wondering about the color. It seems kind of dark. I wonder if I could have a lighter color, maybe a light blue or something.
Oh, so what are you saying? You're saying I don't know colors? I don't know anything about suits? What, I just came off the street, I was some unemployed guy begging for money on the corner, and they threw me in here to try to fit people? You don't think I know anything about suits? Oh, no, let's go that color? Is that what you're saying?
You think the dark then?
Yeah, I think the dark.
Okay, I'll go with the dark. I'm sorry,
Okay, well, I thought we...
Yeah, I think we kind of like went into this a little bit with just like the ending and kind of like just the ramifications you have on other people, and like trying to, I think Nick's character, the only way he can grow again is like without the presence of Connie. So it's that whole thing. And
yeah, I think we did kind of step on it in the previous segment. I will say there's a lot of people that confuse, and it's something they said about Train Spotting. It's funny you mention it. That the portrayal of something is not a what is it? Retweets are not endorsements. A portrayal is not an endorsement. The portrayal of Robert Pattinson in this is not an endorsement. They are not saying that this is a good character or like somebody you should inspire to be. This is a man that you should kind of despise the entire way. Mm-hmm. And I think some people, I can understand people asking like, what's the point of all that? I suppose, especially if you weren't as drawn into like the experience, where I would tell you like kind of just the experience of it all is the thing. That's why we're here in this movie. Like, it is just supposed to feel like a never-ending night that just, drives your anxiety. But, portrayal's not endorsement. He's not a good character. He's not an aspirational figure. It would be weird if he got the Scarface treatment and it's weird that Scarface got the Scarface treatment, but like Scarface was not an endorsement of that character. No. But somehow he ended up on posters everywhere where he kind of became
he was badass and he had a lot of crazy lines.
At least Robert Pattinson in this movie, I'd say you're less likely to make that mistake, because at no point is he really ever badass. He's just it's just a sequence of fuck ups and lies. Is this whole
well,
night.
it's just like it goes in line with the character from Uncut Gems as well, where it's like it's just everything he does is at the expense of other people, and there's no redeeming qualities about him, even though he can be a nice guy, like he's loving to his kids, or different things like that. Connie he loves his brother to an extent, to where he's putting himself in these positions.
What they both are is charismatic, but charisma is not
it's
a
not a
character
driving
trait.
force.
It's not a quality of a person. It is just
something you happen to have.
Yeah.
And you can either use that to be a decent person or to be a complete asshole. So
and he uses it for the worst. So
yeah,
I think that's good enough for hey, what are you trying to say? So let's move along to Let the Hate Flow Through You.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
Let the Hate Flow Through You is where we talk about our complaints and annoyances.
There's not much that I dislike in this. I think the character of I keep wanting to call him Randy Ray. It was a little irritating at points. Like I think that whole exposition scene was like, we don't really need this. But I get it. It was trying to set up the LSD and like another way for Rob Pattinson to get some money.
In the moment, you're definitely watching it like, why the hell is this story so long?
But it kind of felt like it felt like a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Like a flashback in this. It just didn't, it kind of broke that realism a little bit. Where it was like, okay, this seems like a rom-com or something. You know what I mean?
His story's a little more like slapstick and a little more like that like Scorsese movie,
Yeah.
like just drug fueled. But it is kind of supposed to be because he's like, I just got free and the first thing I did was get fucked up. So it's like from that moment, everything like notches up. Yeah. So. Yeah, Ray can get a little annoying. It's funny. I actually watched. Have you ever seen like Double Toasted on YouTube? It's the two black guys. They're like two middle-aged black guys that do the reviews.
I believe so.
Every once in a while I watch the reviews, and their review of this was really funny just because they were laughing their ass off. They're like, I saw this as a slapstick comedy. This shit was hilarious. It's like when the motherfucker jumped out of the car, I was laughing. Like they're just. So they had so much fun. Like one of the hosts at least was like, and it's funny because you can kind of read it. Like if this was played slightly differently, like we said about the Lighthouse with the Wayans brothers and Whiteface.
Yeah.
If this was the Wayans brothers and Whiteface, this shit would be hilarious.
Or it's like change the music up a little bit.
Yeah.
Have something a little bit more lighthearted or whatever.
Just a very slight rewrite and re-edit, and this is like a slapstick comedy about a dude fucking up his whole night.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't end with like death and rest.
But I mean, I think what I did like about the character of Ray was he was a complete contrast of, in certain ways of Connie, which it was like he was more so Connie. He's the same character, but he was like, he realizes who he is, the kind of person he is, and he's okay with that. You know what I mean? But he's trying to do right, kind of, but he's also kind of stuck in his ways a little bit too. But Connie is like, I think I'm a good person. You know what I mean?
Well, I think Ray is the embodiment of just being like kind of like aimless and knockabout, and Connie is the embodiment of malice and like just ill will. Like they both might affect people in negative ways in their own ways, but like only one of them really has malice in their heart.
Right.
Ray is just kind of a fuck up and drunk. Connie's the worst.
Yeah.
So.
I prefer the humble asshole.
Yeah, me personally, that's closer to home too. That's all I have for Let the Hate Flow Through You. So shall we move along to Is This a Perfect Movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
I'll let you.
Since this was
answer this one.
Yeah, this is my nominee. I don't think so. So I think it's really good. I think maybe it could be, but I
don't think
I think it's just under the line.
Yeah, I don't think it's even a purgatory movie as well. It's close, but it's not. It doesn't hit all those beats.
Yeah. I think the Safdie brothers are probably yet to make the movie that makes the perfect movie list. Maybe Uncut Gems is that movie. I might need to revisit it and see if I still like it. But I think I just really love their, like, it's a very specific signature as a filmmaker. Like, once you get in their movies, like, I didn't know what I was signing up for when I watched Uncut Gems. So the first time I watched it, I was like, I was kind of just like hurt and anxious and like, oh God, that was stressful. But now that I know what I'm signing up for, like, I really admire the thing they try to achieve.
And I think because this movie came before Uncut Gems, so I think they really refined that type of storytelling in Uncut Gems, because I enjoyed that movie more. I think maybe it did have a lot more light-hearted elements to it, but it was dark in times where it was dark. And I just think that if you're going to do that anxiety-inducing kind of thing, you need to... There's a certain type of story you got to tell for that. I don't know. And I just don't think this one quite lived up to...
Adam Sandler's character is more likable.
Yes.
For sure. And you're spending more time with him. So,
but he's also like, I mean, he is a complete asshole too, but I don't know. I preferred that one to this. I still think this is a great film, and I think Rob Pattinson kills it in this.
And Uncut Gems has Kevin Garnett in it, which gets bonus points.
Gets
for me
brownie points.
As a Minnesotan who grew up watching KG.
Not a good actor though, but
I thought he was pretty good in it. I thought he's okay. I mean, he's just supposed to be it.
NBA players are notoriously bad actors. That's just like a thing. I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
It was all right.
But
talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane.
Talking about Shaq in Steel.
In Steel.
The one movie he was in. Yeah, not on the list, but it is definitely worth the watch. If you like thrillers, I mean, it's very intense.
Or if you're like me and you'd already watched Uncut Gems and you thought it was a good movie and you haven't seen this previous one, it's a lot of the same energy. So
yeah,
I think you're down for that.
I think we want to encourage you guys, like, really dig into directors and their movies, and you can kind of see this slow, like, evolution of, like, their films, and it's really interesting, and it can kind of add to the experience a little bit too, and you get to, like, really appreciate the craft. And even some movies that you think might be bad, like, watch it again and you might find something totally new in it, and something totally, like, something you resonate with more, that kind of thing. I'm trying to get better with that as well. I know I need to dive more into, like, Wes Anderson stuff, because really liked Grand Budapest, and I actually did watch
Asteroid City.
Yeah, didn't like it as much. I thought it was very, like, pretentious at times, but it was still, like, the working is, like, it had some movie magic to it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So it is not on the list. It is not in purgatory, but it's recommended. So next episode should be the Twilight. The original Twilight.
The original Twilight.
So we're going back to Robert Pattinson's origins. We've accidentally made this a trilogy, and I think that's a good place to end it, which is where it all began.
Yeah.
Just do a real, like, Christopher Nolan, the end is the beginning is the end. Is this Memento? Is my life Memento?
It is.
Spoilers for Memento.
You are a skinny white.
I am. I'm not nearly as handsome as, what's his name?
Hey, buddy. Don't sell yourself short, man.
Okay, I am as handsome as him.
I'm surprised we didn't do the Batman. We haven't done the Batman yet.
No, we haven't. It was on, we talked about a little bit top 10 movies last year, but
I don't really want to watch it again. I don't think
no,
I'd ever watch
I think we can wait. I'm kind of, like, just out on superhero flicks in general, and just kind of franchise fatigued as hell in general.
You know what? I don't know if we want to keep this going for a little bit, but I did start watching Ahsoka the other day.
I did too.
And it's fine.
It's okay.
It's not terrible. I don't think anything can be as bad as Kenobi.
It hasn't hurt me yet. Honest. But I'm also, like, I don't really care about it. I'm just going to watch it again because it's like, well, this is 40 minutes.
But didn't you get so excited when you saw lightsabers?
I did see lightsabers, and I saw some people, they fought a Sith boarded a rebel ship. Things we know. Killed some rebels.
Things we know.
In a white hallway.
I was impressed because we didn't see a single stormtrooper yet. And I was like, they're moving in the right direction. Possibly.
Well, as soon as Thrawn shows up, there's going to be
there's going to be stormtroopers, obviously.
There will be.
I think I'm just kind of excited. Like this felt like, not excited. Excited is the wrong word. But it's interesting because I feel like they're starting to delve into, like, the EU stuff and, like, the legend stuff, which is the most interesting stuff in Star Wars because they actually do different shit. And I'm like, I want there to be the Huzang Vong or whatever that shit is, the fucking alien species from a different galaxy that invades. That's never going to happen. but I would like that to happen.
On a very nerdy note, this is going to be like the nerdiest thing I've ever said on this nerdy-ass podcast that we have, is I'm excited to see the Witches of Dathomir.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think they'll ever do that, the Yu Zhang Vong, but I do think that I like that it is. The witches are interesting. Like, I just like these different ways people communicate with the Force, like a different society. Because if we're gonna go with the idea that the Force is this everlasting,
but you know what that means.
It would make sense for there to be different like dogmas and different like sects that
right.
interact with it.
Well, you know what that means. They're gonna bring back Darth Maul because that's his whole thing. Is he's
hooked up with the Witches of Dathomir?
Yes. And so it's going to be more member berries.
I'm so excited for Darth Maul and his spider legs.
But yeah, I don't know. Star Wars is... I still want to do our big Star Wars video eventually, where I just kind of rant about it. And like, we just kind of talk shit about Star Wars. Maybe that's coming eventually. We'll have to find a good time to talk about it.
What happened with Star Wars is they made 2 classic movies and a lot of merchandising, and it's just driven this machine, started this machine that's spun ever since. And George Lucas is actually the only person that had restraint. I didn't realize this. At first I was mad at George Lucas. Why don't you make more Star Wars for me, George Lucas? George Lucas, let us see more Star Wars. And then they gave it to Disney, and I was like, oh, fuck, this is why. Because you can't
do more Star Wars. I mean, I think it was a nightmare for George Lucas. I don't think he likes Star Wars. I mean, but like, I think we're in the minority that
actually,
we think
the film I'm passionate about is Red Tails.
Red Tails. Oh, Jesus. No, I think we're in the minority that, there are only 2 good Star Wars movies. I don't think Return of the Jedi is a good movie.
I think it's a good movie. It's like a good movie. It's not a classic movie.
But it was the start of like that blockbuster bullshit. And I'm like, I roll my eyes at that movie. The movie sucks. I'm sorry. It's nostalgic because little teddy bears running around throwing shit and Luke or Darth Vader kills the Emperor.
No, it's better than that. But it is not. It is the start of the downhill for sure.
Yeah. No, but I do want to dig deep into Star Wars eventually because there's a lot to say about it, and it's just like, again, just the corporate bullshit that we're just so like used to and people are okay with. You know, they're okay with mediocre shit, and I don't like that because I feel like, I don't know, movies are a big part of our culture, and it's like you're shelling this shit out for money, and it makes it soulless and things that people care about. Like Star Wars was a big part of my life growing up. You know what I mean? It's like you keep pumping this shit out with no soul and people just eat it up, and this is why they keep doing it. Stop going to go watch these movies. And I fall victim to this too because I just watched Ahsoka. So you know, shoot me, but you know, I don't mean to go on this rant about it, but I think it's long overdue that we do something on Star Wars eventually. So
it was really we should get to it. I don't know when maybe
we have to be in the mood for it though.
We have to figure it out. Yeah. You know, Star Wars always used to come out around Christmas.
It's true. But they haven't dropped a movie in a while.
You know, I'm just saying Christmas time.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I don't really like Christmas movies.
No, I think we did that. We've been there, did that.
Do Krampus maybe.
Krampus? Didn't we do Krampus last year?
Hell no. Our Christmas movie was Die Hard, bro.
Oh yeah.
Nice. All right, so next week we're gonna do Twilight, or next episode. So look forward to that. Kayla will be here, so we'll probably just.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah, we'll probably end cursed. You know, I was excited about the return of the Witches of Dathomir, but the Witches of St. Paul, I don't know.
Not so much. If you're listening to this, Kayla, please.
We'll see you next
week. Don't hex us.
Not gotten along with your family members sometimes.
There is family drama.
Family drama. No family drama? Does anybody have another suggestion? Sorry, guys.
Ever been blamed for something that you didn't do?
Oh, wow. Plenty of times. Plenty of times. No one first.
Touch me,
Right.
cure me.
Have you ever been to Radio City Christmas at Rockefeller Center?
Oh, I have.
The pure always act from love.
Dragon?
The damned always act from love.
Anything stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Cross the room if you've ever done something stupid with your friends. Mike, you have a suggestion?
Yes. Cross the room.
Every day I think about untwisting and untangling
Cross the room if you've not been.
these strings I'm in. To lead a pure life. Look ahead in a clear sky.
Nursery school and stuff. So cross the room if you've ever met
Ain't gonna get there.
mentor special needs children. Yeah. Okay.
But it's a nice dream.
Great. Cross the room if you have a friend.
It's a nice dream. Death. Make
Megan?
me brave.
Cross the room if you've ever been lonely.
Death.